Thank you. So this talk's a little different. I've done talks about, so a little bit about my history. Grew up doing identity and access management with the US government and the intelligence community. So I've done talks on globally distributed identity and access management, sub-second real time, multiple data centers all over the place. Everything has to come into sync. And this presentation is really based off of one woman and some of the work we did. That's you. All right. Over the last about 6 months, and we call it Using IoT to Restore Freedom. So a little bit about us, as I said, building solutions for about the past decade within the intelligence community. Our organization now is bringing a lot of those ideas into the public market and doing deployments, hybrid IAM, managed services for people all over the world. So we're at this point where we've focused a ton on identities of humans, right? And some say we've got it figured out. I think we still have a long way to go. But every single conversation I'm having right now with CISOs, directors of identity, is really around this Beyond Corp model where you're pushing the identity outside of your firewall. And when we took a look at it, it's actually a model we've been building for close to a decade in the communities we live because they trust no one, right? And services are trusted by no one, and you have to have certs on devices and certs on humans, and joining those together make you really certain about who it is. So beyond that, we've also benefit of the real world is we have all these really cool devices in our pockets that track all of our position and barometer and latitude and longitude. I mean, there's some really interesting research on the way you pull your phone out of your pocket and the way those sensors flip will tell me exactly how long your arm is and within like a centimeter. And then from there, you can tell exactly how tall that person is. CIA, about 7 years ago, fully admitted within 15 minutes of a smartphone in your pocket, they know with 99.99% exactly who you are. And it was basically a call out to all the drug dealers who do burner phones all day long, like, you want to move to a smartphone? We'll know who you are, don't even bother, right? So have you guys seen this MindWave headset? So it's actually, you put this headset on, which I can't imagine in 5 years when we all have this dent in our head from wearing these and the hole that it's going to cause, but actually reading your brain waves to identify who you are in context to be more sure that that's the person behind the keyboard. Insanity. So we've got all of these pieces on us that give us biometric factors, and then all the device factors as well, your gait analysis, the room temperature, voice, I mean, the whole discussion about Facebook actually listening to your conversations behind and magically ads pop up. We can use that for identity and context to make sure you're in the room, right? And then those devices themselves, they're giving us all the sensor data, but the devices themselves have their own profiles and, right, what are the patch levels? What are the security, or what version of Java is on there? Hey, there's a 0-day that just came out for that Java version. We're going to stop you at the edge until you patch it, and then we'll let you in for the network today. So from our world, there's a lot of smart people solving these problems. And a piece that I've always struggled with in identity and access management all along is we do all of this work through hire and fire and adding people to directories, doing governance of roles, but the physical world of badging in has always been separate. And very few organizations I know are provisioning badges, revoking badges. It's, oh, we revoked this person, we're going to send an email or open a help desk ticket, and then they'll close it off as a separate system. Also, this world is kind of getting turned upside down right now. There's about a $200 device on the market that I can fake standing next to your door reader, act like I'm on a cell phone call, and as soon as that RFID badge gets swiped, the antenna gets charged enough that the thing in my backpack can actually clone that card in 15 seconds. So with our security folks, our physical security folks, which I was actually at the airport last week, and the TSA agent who was in the middle that was supposed to be watching all the cameras, I looked at his screen and he was browsing Reddit. Not saying that happens in all of our organizations. I mean, me too, watching dashboards, right? But they're not paying attention, and a guy's standing there on his cell phone, someone badges in, 30 seconds later, he goes into his backpack, pulls out his badge, which is the newly cloned card, swipes in, walks in the door. Well, we just busted all of your physical security. And let's be honest, we're doing a pretty good job with the networks lately. We can debate, but physical is really easy to break into in many, many organizations. So we've been playing with some devices and things, and so Chris Hunt's here from our team, and a bunch of this story is about his mother-in-law. So they lived with Chris as they were building a home in a facility that's pre-assisted living. So it's a elderly facility where they all have kind of their own apartments. It looks like Pleasantville, right, where every house looks the same, but you kind of have that freedom that you can walk the grounds, and there's different gyms and like choir areas. But so they were living with Chris, and were building an apartment home in this facility. And when his mother-in-law got there, who's suffering from Alzheimer's, and yes, see, this is going to happen. This is close to my heart. So she got there and was very, very lost. Had a very hard time adjusting, right? She knew the home that Chris had. She knew where everybody was, knew the town. When she got there, she very much just became recluse and stayed at the apartment, didn't leave. She loved singing, she loved playing the organ, and just didn't do it anymore because she'd get into this basically made-up town. Every house would look the same, and she'd go, I don't know where I am. And I don't want to, right, they have the call buttons, but every time you push that call button, it's, oh my God, someone's having a heart attack, right? And she didn't want to push it because she was embarrassed. She was just lost and wanted to know where to go. So, so Chris heard about this issue. I heard about this issue, and we started building some things around it. Had some fun technical challenges. Their Wi-Fi network, you have to authenticate every night. Problem is, when you want to put a sensor device on the network that uses Wi-Fi, someone's got to get to that sensor device and redo it every night, or start spoofing MAC addresses and scripts, but we won't tell them about that. So our first attempt was really, so the first attempt was more of, she had a smartphone, and we would put the calendar on there and say, hey, at 2 o'clock, you're supposed to go to the choir practice. Well, she'd get halfway there and forget where the choir place was. And just didn't go well. So our next step was we took little tags like these and placed them throughout the facility, right? Really simple, really easy to hide. Piece of tape underneath a brick on a window ledge. No one's ever going to see it. It's kind of a skunkworks operation. But then we used her phone to do range finding. So we could say, she could look at the calendar and say, hey, I'm supposed to be going to choir practice. I'm the green dot, and I know I need to follow the red dots. We're devs. UI sucks. There's some really good UI people, UX, UI people that I've met. We need better help. But so this was good, but what started happening was she wouldn't remember to put her phone on the Wi-Fi. She wouldn't remember, or her phone would die, and she wouldn't know where to go. At the same time, she wanted to call for help, and sometimes couldn't figure out how to do it. So we knew we had to do something else. So we took a different approach. Instead of putting these tags all over the place, we moved to these little devices. So this is an ESP32. This is a dev board. The actual chip is this silver thing in the middle. And there's actually plugs now, like smart plugs for your home, that are based on this chip that you can just plug in a wall and then piggyback your cords. So you can just put them all over the place, and they don't really do anything. But then we gave her a tag, right? And this tag lasts for 6 to 12 months. She just has to have it in her pocket, have it on a necklace. She has to wear the panic button anyway, so you just hang it on the same thing, and it was good. But what that does is these are now reading the passive tags that she's walking around with. And these have Bluetooth on them to read the Bluetooth tag, and then they have Wi-Fi to bridge the connections to the internet. So now we were able to track her around the facility, and at any time, her husband could say, where is she? How can I help her? And at the same time, she started, all right, this is Chris's house. We didn't show the facility, but where in the facility is she? Where inside of buildings is she? So, right, oh, walking down the street outdoors, why didn't you use GPS? Well, a lot of the buildings were built like, I swear, a jail, right? They were fortified, and cell signals didn't make it through. So he could find her immediately. She started realizing, hey, I need to go to choir practice. Here's where I need to go, and it would direct her there. And her whole attitude changed moving into this facility. So much that other people started to take notice and say, hey, what happened? Right? Because everyone's got their significant other that they're worried about when they go through this situation. So at this point, it works for one person, and we've been approached to build it for others, which very quickly for us became an identity and access management problem, right? This was kind of a side project that we hacked on, and now it's like, okay, we have to build real registration screens, and we have to think about things like UMA and privacy, and how do you say she wants to share with her husband and other people, and then can her husband share on her behalf, and what's the privacy rules around that? And yeah, this problem just got really, really flipping hard. So that's kind of where we are with the project right now. It has been awesome. These things are like, in bulk, $3. These things are, they actually make like badges for your office like these, and at bulk, they're down to like $1. So for literally a couple $100, you've got a platform that's changing the way people behave and giving them their independence back in not fun situations. So some people have asked how we're doing it. Pretty simple, straight. I won't call it simple or straightforward, but pretty much follows the AWS blueprints for this stuff. The ESP32 devices are placed throughout the facility. They talk to a MQTT gateway that then uses an AWS IoT certificate to push the data into the AWS IoT endpoints. There's some new devices out from a company called Particle that were supposed to be released by now, but they're, of course, pushing. All hardware gets pushed at least 3 months from an original release date. That allows us to do mesh networks in here. So if the device can't speak directly to the bridge, it'll talk to another device and push it through, and it manages all of the security and pushing new firmware and pushing new updates for us, which, I mean, right now it's running around plugging into a USB port and flashing things. So on the AWS side, we've got the IoT gateway that runs to IoT rules. Some of these trackers actually have a button on it that'll send out a different beacon ID, and you can watch for those beacon IDs to know somebody's in trouble, right? There's the trouble of, hey, I'm having a heart attack versus, hey, I'm lost and I need help. So she can actually push the button on here, the trackers pick it up, and then we have a rule that says, hey, don't push it through the system. Immediately send it to the people she cares about that are local. We then take all the data, push it into Amazon's Kinesis, push the raw data over to S3 because we don't know what we're going to do with it. We don't know what we do and don't need at this point, so S3 is really cheap and easy. Just throw all that data into a bucket and let us replay it later as we're trying to work through different scenarios and different points of the day. And then we push it in the what data we care about right now based on our application into Amazon's Redshift, and then that allows us to have a traditional database interface to put GUIs on and more of your traditional architecture for an app. So the question comes, why does this matter and why should I care? So we care about Chris's mother-in-law a lot. But we're all being pushed to do new and new things faster for identity and access management in our organizations. Right? We are being pushed to go to consumer IAM. We are being pushed to do mergers and acquisitions faster. These devices are cheap, really flippin' cheap, and gives us an ability to prototype very fast for the organizations we work for. So not only in the office, one of the simple things we did a long, long time ago in the government space was they're a disconnected network, right? So you physically have to be in their location to get on the network. There's no VPN. There's no working from home. You go there at 8 o'clock in the morning and sit there until 5 o'clock and leave your cell phone in the car. But when you walk in the door and badge in, we put you in an AD group. That AD group allows you to log into the domain. If you're physically out of the building, your credentials don't allow you to get into the domain. Really simple, really stupid, but let me tell you how much credential sharing stopped. Because what would happen is, hey, I know you just left, you're stuck in DC traffic, the system went down, I can't get it back online, or my credentials expired, I need yours. And they're like, I'm not driving an hour back. Here's my username and password. Top secret environment, not cool. So all of that stuff stopped, right? And then also, if the person's not in the building and their laptop gets plugged in, why? Maybe we should send someone to go check it out. As we're moving towards a Beyond Corp model, what's their presence on site, right? You have the same badge you wear to the office every day. It's got an RFID chip. You put a BLE chip in it, and now you know where in the building they are and where they should be, and it's much easier. Those RFID cards are getting cloned very easily. Well, now if I have a Bluetooth-enabled badge, I walk up to my door reader, I get in range, and then there's a camera sitting in the corner that takes my picture. So then, you don't have the security guard browsing Reddit that's supposed to be watching the screen pop up as people go through doors. You're just using Amazon's recognition at less than a penny a piece to say, hey, I got this badge, it's supposed to be tied to Matt, here's the camera feed that's showing the guy's face at the door. Is that Matt? Okay, good, let him in, right? So we're adding more contextual factors in our businesses to enhance security. One of the fun ones, a lot of the organizations we've worked with have espionage problems with people coming in or people coming in for visits. At your registration desk, you hand someone a visitor badge, it's Bluetooth enabled, they walk in the door, and they're supposed to go to the 4th floor for a meeting for 2 hours. Well, they're in the meeting for 2 hours, and then they go to the bathroom for like 30 minutes. Rough night, need some forward fiber. Then they move to the 6th floor, which is your executive floor, and they're just walking halls. Well, your system should say, hey, they were supposed to be out of here more than 30 minutes ago, and they were only supposed to be on the 4th floor. Let's send someone up to go find them. And just ask. Maybe it's valid. Maybe someone in the meeting said, hey, come up, I want to show you this, I want to introduce you to some people. But it kind of starts preventing a lot of that come in, grab stuff off people's desks, throw it in a backpack, walk out the door, you don't know any better. Right? You look at most of the major manufacturers out there, it's happened lately. So the fun ones are in the field. So we've talked to a bunch of our customers that are wanting to change the consumer identity experience, right? So you've got a customer who's online at night, I'm watching my time, who's online, they're shopping, and they walk into your store. Well, their phone can pick up the beacons in the store and tell your associate, hey, they were online last night, and they were looking at jeans, and they wear a size 34 based on their last order 2 weeks ago. This is the jeans that are in their shopping cart. Go get them and hand them to them. Creepy, privacy issues, everyone in this room freaks out. Consumer goes, that's fucking cool, right? So similarly, right, most of us still own automobiles. I think there's some crazy numbers about people under 20 not ever caring to get a driver's license anymore. I don't get it. I grew up in Detroit. I was in line at the DMV the day I turned 15 to get my permit. But you pull your car into the service bay, they know what you should be getting, right? They know you need an oil change. They know you need a tire rotation. They know that there's a part on the alternator on the engine is not turning as fast as it should, and you're probably going to need to get that replaced. How much better would it be to walk up and be like, hey, great to see you again. You were here 3 weeks ago. You got your oil changed. We didn't do the tire rotation that time. You're due for it now. And we know your alternator's a problem. And you don't even have to introduce yourself. I know who you are, right? That changes the behaviors. Additionally, there's 100, like for an automotive company, right? There's 100 cars in the parking lot over there. 20 of them are my model, and they all need an oil change. Send all the owners a note saying, hey, I'm going to come pick them up at 10 o'clock because I know you're at work all day, right? We're going to bring a whole bunch of people over in a van from the dealer, pick up your cars because we don't need keys anymore. Guess what? We'll snap you a selfie. We'll come close enough to the Bluetooth hidden in your car, take that car, get the oil change, and bring it back before you leave for the day. That's cool. I'd do that in a second. You don't need to give me a 20% off discount. Save me a couple hours. Sitting in, new customer comes up to the window, right? Same type of thing. You've got a fob sitting inside of the ordering window. Hey, we know you like caramel macchiatos. You order one every day. Sorry. Right? Just pull up and say, hey, Mr. Topper, here for the caramel macchiato. Great to see you again. Right? Simple, stupid stuff, but it completely changes the user experience. And at that point, we're having different conversations with the business. And we all struggle in this room to get the funding to build the security programs we know that our organizations need. But when you can have these conversations about enabling the business and changing the user experience, that the consumer gets more loyal to your brand, this is what happens. So you get budget. You get people in the executive world listening to you. And for devices that are less than $100 to blanket a floor of a building or blanket a store and not a lot of development time, it's really easy to show quick wins. So I think that covers everything. So thank you very much. Take any questions.
Thank you, Matt. Great story. Really appreciate it. We have a few minutes for questions. If anybody has a question, please raise your hand. I'll bring the mic to you.
And I can't see anything.
Neither can I. Bright lights. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. You said when you collect the data, you put everything that you don't use directly into a S3 bucket. Do you do this only for a subset of users or for everyone? Because for me, it sounds like data maximization. I'm coming from the EU, and I may have a problem with that. So how do you handle all the anonymization, maybe? I don't want to give you the answer, but...
Yeah, so like I said, this is kind of a skunk's works project at this point. And like we've had the talks because, like, let's just say your Fitbit, you walk around and it advertises the shit out of you. And people can track you through stores and shit right now with your Fitbit, and you don't even know it. My watch is the same thing. If this isn't paired to my phone, it immediately goes in a mode that it's discoverable, hoping to connect to the internet again. So we haven't done anything with it yet. We're taking all of the MQTT data that's coming in and streaming it down. As we grow, if we grow, gotta have to be more questions that we have to answer. So. Not a good answer, I know.
Any other questions? All right, well, thank you for joining us. That's the end of this session. We have one more session for the healthcare track. We'll see you back here in a few minutes, I hope. Thank you.